all new. AM1150 WTMP.com.
All righty. We are here. It is showtime again. Folks, the Porch Talk Radio crew is straggling in here and staggering in here, and we got to remember that this is a female women's history month, and I kind of almost let it get to the last weekend and had not mentioned it up to now. So let me go ahead and do that before we start the show. When I was in school, I mean all of my school, from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade, I literally had one male teacher. And I didn't have a male teacher till I got to 7th grade. I mean, my kindergarten teacher, Miss Roby, we met in a old church. Then 1st grade, Miss Jones. 2nd grade, Miss Jackson. 3rd grade, Miss Austin. 4th grade, Miss Hodge. 5th grade, Miss Baker. 6th grade, Miss Pittman. 7th grade, we had Mr. Walker, who was the only male teacher that I had for like homeroom. Now we had Shop Jackson, who was the disciplinarian. You know, because at that point in time, you know, they would send the whole class to get whooped.
Really?
Oh yeah, Shop beat everybody.
Woo.
You know, they say the Bucks don't beat nobody. Well, that was in the past. Shop beat everybody. They sent the whole class to Shop Jackson. Shop Jackson padded, spanked, you know, boarded the whole class. Girls, boys, everybody. He didn't give a crap. If your class went there, they pretty much lined you up outside the door, and you went in, got your paddling, and went back to the class. So then you know, I had teachers. Now that was up to 7th grade, then 8th grade, 9th grade, and then we integrated. So we integrated, and then I had Miss Hunt, was my homeroom teacher in 10th grade, and Miss Cloud was my homeroom teacher in 11th grade, and then Miss White was my homeroom teacher in 12th grade. So we went all the way through the whole process. And it wasn't a whole heap of guys. Now I got to say, now there was a couple of guys that you know, because you changed classes. You know, Mr. Brown, you know, was a teacher, and he was my science teacher, and he was a great guy. And then we had Coach Bradley. You know, so all the coaches, you know, but you don't have a coach as your homeroom teacher. You know, you may go to gym, or you may go to shop, or you may go to one of the male teachers. But I mean, technically, it just wasn't that many. So most of the educational opportunity that was afforded you, period, came from women. So it is hard for a educated male. It's hard for you if he wasn't an educated male, you know, to have got to a certain point, at this point in your life, without looking back and thinking all the great female teachers that you had along the way. So I'm saying right now, thank you to all my teachers that I was coming up, and some of them, like Miss Young. When I was in 3rd grade, 4th grade, Miss Young was like our spelling teacher. She was 80 years old then.
Wow.
She was 80 years old then. And guess what? She was 80 and she swung that paddle
Still
harder than any of the males. I'm talking when I was in 3rd grade, Miss Young would take you in the closet. They used to have closets in the front of the classroom. And she would do what we call the electric chair. And those chairs were made just right. So whether you was a boy or girl, you could stick your butt out the back of the chair, and you stuck it out, and she hit it.
Huh. So she had a passion for this, you're saying, Eddie?
I'm saying she took it to new. She had no limits. Let's say it like this. You know, her limits were the space in that closet, because it was a step up. So she took you up like the electric chair set had its own space, and everybody could see it. It was like a public execution. So if you did something and it called for a public display, then it was there. So, you know, Miss Young was a good teacher. She was a good teacher. And I'm gonna tell you something that's funny about that. Not only was Miss Young my teacher, Miss Young also taught my mother.
Oh, really? Holy
Yes.
mackerel. That's
Well,
got some history.
But like I said, she was 80 years old when I was in 3rd grade. So she had been a teacher for a long time. So she not only taught me, she taught my mom. So when you have a teacher that's constantly telling you, well, you know, well, I taught your mom, and your mom this, and your mom, you know, and Ms. Young probably knew half of the folks, if not all of the folks in the class knew their parents. So your teachers not only knew who you were, if you had older siblings. See, I'm the oldest in my family, so I don't have to worry about that. You know, older siblings, you know, your parents or whatever, you know, it's a lot of history that's involved in it. And a lot of that stuff is gone, because now the public school system is so big, and there's so many variables, and like Hillsborough County got 200-300 schools, you know, Lake Wells had 1 high school, you know, had 2, you know, like junior high.
And everybody went there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Everybody.
Pretty much. And then you know, we had 1 black high school and 1 black white high school, one black high school, and then they shut the black high school down. So everybody went to the 1 high school, Lake West High School, which had the Highlanders. All right, we're gonna take a call. We ain't even opened up the show yet. So this is Porch Talk Radio. We got a call on the phone. Caller, welcome to Porch Talk Radio on this Saturday afternoon. Who are you? Where you calling from? And what say you? Hello.
Eddie Adams, how you doing? Charles Coffey.
I am doing excellent, sir.
Hello, Charles.
Yes.
My 1st grade teacher was 100 years old. She taught my mom, dad, I believe my grandma too. But I have a question for you, and I believe you can answer it, because me and you, I'm 65, and you probably, I'm either older than you or you older than me.
I'm 67.
Was integration necessary? Give me your comment. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you. I think integration
I don't know, Eddie.
was necessary. Only problem was it destroyed the black community. Integration destroyed the black community, because before integration, there was all kind of black shops. Everything that was uptown was downtown. We even had black hospitals, you had black theaters, you had black shopping centers, definitely restaurants and all kind of other entertainment. Everything that was uptown was downtown, because where I come from in Lake Wales, at 5 o'clock, when the horn went off for Townsend Lumberyard, they had a horn that went off at 7 o'clock in the morning, went off at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, when that horn went off, you had to be on your side of the track. Now, some of you guys out there know what the hell I'm talking about. Some of you guys don't. But if you lived in the South in the early 50s and 60s, there was a unwritten curfew in which, black folks and white folks, you needed to be on your side of the track if you were going to be safe at night. So when that horn went off at 5 o'clock, you need to be going to your side of the track or be on your side of the track. So again, we had everything. Black businesses was thriving. They was successful, and there was pretty much no competition, because all of the black folks went to the shops and things that was on the outside, and every now and then you had to go uptown to buy some stuff, but they had a lot of grocery stores in the hood, in the black, and I don't mean mom and pop corner store. I mean real grocery stores, with meat counters and departments and aisles and aisles of stuff. So So that stuff you don't hardly see
Mm-mm.
a lot of that now. So even though we integrated, and folks said it was how we all were supposed to be able to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think as a community, black folks moved forward at all. We actually started moving backwards to the point to where we actually don't own any businesses. We don't own many businesses within our own community. And this is Porch Talk Radio. We're going to open the show. We'll get the show started. And
Eddie, that happened in the Hispanic community as well. As they began to bust me out in the 70s, out to the white schools. You're right, there was a lot of Hispanic-owned businesses in my community at that time. And there was a lot of black businesses mixed in as well. But it was black people owning, Hispanic people owning their little businesses
Right.
there. And as soon as they began to bust me out of the Hispanic black community over to the white neighborhoods, nice clean schools, big schools, fancy, that pretty much began to disintegrate, as you say, kind of went down the tubes, and we were left with a little Chinaman store at one point, and that was the grocery store. And it was the size of a very small storage building.
right,
But
right,
we all lined up to go into the little Chinaman store because all the other businesses had been shut down
right.
because of big competition.
Well, something else. Let me go ahead and start the show, and then we can continue this conversation. So we'd like to welcome you guys you guys and girls to Porch Talk Radio. This is your host Eddie Adams Jr., co-host Gabriel Phillips. Tim Horton is standing over there, doing Facebook Live and
He's standing today. Last time he was sitting down.
and video and
Take it easy.
other stuff. And we're glad to be with you for another weekend. So if you want to call in during the show, be on the show, the call-in number is 813-251-9867. 813-251-9867. If you want to call me after the show, during the week, something, have a conversation, my cell phone number, Eddie Adams Jr. cell phone number is 813-12. You can text me at that number, and if you want to send me an email, Eddie, EDDIE, at porchtalkradio.com. Gabe.
Good afternoon, folks. This is Gabriel Phillips, your friendly co-host with Mr. Eddie. He is the nice one. I am not. The information I give out, I've looked for it, researched it a little bit, so I've just got the truth. If that hurts you, if it stings you, that's on you. But if you have anything to back something up saying, no, that's not correct, because, and you give me a source, must be more than CNN because that doesn't count, then my number would be a 727-11. I don't promise I'll call you back. I don't promise I'll text you back. If you've got information we can use, we will be talking.
All right. Okay. So as I was saying,
Ladies,
it was a lot of stuff that was going on, and like the gentleman's question was integration good or bad? And I'm saying it may have been good for society
in general,
as a whole.
but
The nation, black folks, white folks, Hispanic, everybody getting along, doing kumbaya. But it was two battles going on. First one was the federal government was in the process of taking God out of schools.
and they won.
So they start, if you notice, when I was in first grade, we had a routine. Every morning you did the pledge. Every morning
here.
you did a prayer. Every morning, you had some acknowledgments of what was going on in the world, and you did the pledge, and you did all this stuff. And, we called it, when the Russians were doing indoctrination, but it wasn't indoctrination when we would do it. But slowly but surely, over a number of years, all that stuff went away. The prayer in schools went away. Pledging went away.
Minorities lost big, Eddie, in that.
Yeah.
Big.
Butt whooping went away.
Big.
Corporal punishment went away, Because I'm going to tell you something about that whole story. The only reason corporal punishment went away is because white folks didn't want black folks whipping their kids.
Mm.
See, it was okay as long as black kids were getting beat by.
Eddie, CNN hasn't said that. You sure?
I'm just black folks was whooping black folks, no problem. White folks were whooping white folks, no problem.
But
when they started this integration thing, one of the side effects was, okay, the same guy that was whooping the black kids, was whooping white kids. And guess what? Their parents couldn't deal with that. Oh, did that N-word, beat my child? No, okay, we don't believe in corporal. All of a sudden, corporal punishment became a big issue. Nobody believed in corporal punishment now that that big 250-pound, 260-pound black guy who was whipping all the girls and the boys and everything was black. Now he can't whoop your child. See, because he's a big black guy, and the whippings actually hurt. So so again,
that was the point.
well, like I said,
it's called a motivator, Eddie.
The whole issue was, as a system, corporal punishment became a big nasty guy. And it was okay, and the purpose of it was good up until it was being applied to everybody who was in it, and then you couldn't integrate the schools without integrating the faculty and the staff and everything else that went along with that. And especially in the South, where, for some reason or another, it was good up until then.
Eddie, you just reminded me, kind of jarred a memory I'd hidden away, forgotten about. Mr. Johnson in my history class, tall black man, he had a paddle with holes drilled into that sucker.
Suction board.
And when he gave you a whop, you were lifted off your feet. And when you landed back down, it was just amazing. I forgot my history work one time. And that was it.
It's strange that
never forgot it again.
It's strange that everybody had a suction board. That's what we call it. Woo! It was called the suction board. It was a board about an inch thick.
Yes.
And it's shaped like a big tennis paddle.
Yeah.
And had a handle on it. It had a big old surface. And
I'm beginning to break into cold sweats, Eddie.
You could swing that thing as hard as you want. You were never gonna break it. You never was gonna break the suction board. Your butt was gonna break before the suction board broke. And it was such a thing. Even with clothes and everything, you could still feel the suction when he pulled it back. That's why they call it the suction board.
And Eddie, the lead up to knowing you're gonna get whipped is when Mr. Johnson had his big gold tooth in front.
Yeah.
And he'd lick that gold tooth. He'd lick it. Mr. Phillips, you don't have that history test, huh? That paperwork, huh? Step outside. I was fairly grown as an older teenager. I started crying right there. Woo, I knew I was coming. One time, one and done. That was it. I got it.
That used to. I mean, it worked. It was a phase.
Effective.
It was a phase, and like I say, most of my teachers coming up were women, and I could never forget them. I mean, even my first grade teacher, all the way up to my 12th grade teacher. It's funny because you ain't heard of these people in 50-something years, but you still remember. I remember my first day in first grade.
Oh my goodness.
I remember it.
Wow.
I remember where I sat. I remember who sat next to me. I remember, the little girls.
Remember what you were wearing?
Who sat around me. I remember what they were wearing.
That is amazing, Eddie.
And that's first grade. And I remember we used to have spelling bees.
I did good on those. I like those.
We had a guy named Cicero Guyton. He was one of my friends. And Cicero, when we were young, boy, he used to win all the prizes because they used to have prizes for spelling bees.
Yeah.
So whoever won the
Back
spelling
in the day.
bee, they would always bring some kind of prize or something. Cicero won all the prizes. Now, I'm going to tell you, this guy was smart in first grade, second grade, third grade. Then by the time we got to be teenagers, he
went the opposite?
He became a gangster.
Oh.
Next thing you know, he was out the system because he went to prison. I'm saying prison, but he went to juvenile detention. You know, so he was in the system, and he was smart. He was smarter than I was, much more smarter than I was. but you know, he took a turn here, there. Next thing you know, he's in the system and he never recovered. He never recovered. And this guy, as a kid, was one of the smartest people I knew. And there's a couple other kids that I knew who were not that smart in elementary school, were not that smart in high school, but they went on to become doctors. One of them is a doctor right now.
I had a buddy back in elementary school that he was one of those that you would if you made him laugh just enough, he'd pee on himself. Well, he ended up being a bully down the road. He got tired of that, I guess. Went to sniffing glue.
Yeah.
And then from there on to other things. Ended up in prison. Raped some woman, something like that.
Yeah.
And you're like, all that from the guy that was peeing in his pants.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, we got a tough topic today.
What are we doing?
To talk about, because it's difficult for a conservative black dude to talk about reparations and make anybody happy.
40 acres but no mule.
You know, well, first thing I'm gonna do, let me clean that up.
Okay.
Because there was some folks who misunderstood where that went. Okay, the whole concept 40 acres and a mule, it was 40 acres that Sherman and the Secretary of Defense had promised 3.9 million black folks immediately coming out of slavery to make up for what they had lost, to punish the slave owners in the South, and to allow black folks to lead themselves, have their own community without white folks. That was the whole concept idea, and it was good. Like most people say, when you do, and I've said this many times, when you do something by executive order, it is only as good as long as that executive is in office.
Sounds familiar, Eddie.
Yes. So, soon after, Abraham Lincoln was out of office, and everybody knew how he left office.
Horizontal.
Somebody put a bullet in his head. But Andrew Johnson, now somebody called in, I want to make sure, Andrew Johnson,
Not Jackson.
was Lincoln's successor.
The VP then, I guess.
And he was a sympathizer of the South and the Southern landholders.
So he'd be called a racist now.
Yeah. So he overturned the order in the fall of 1865. And he returned all the land along the South Carolina, Georgia, Florida coastlines to the planters who originally owned that land.
Did they get paid twice then, Eddie?
No, they just got their land back.
And kept the money, I bet you. Back then. For the inconvenience.
Well,
it's government.
Well, that's the other thing. The blacks who had gathered and came up with this great plan and were looking forward to it, their proposal was to buy the land.
So they weren't asking for a handout.
No, they wasn't asking for a handout. They was intended to work the land, have the land generate money, which they had been working for free, but now they get some of the money, get some of the profits from it, pay off the government for the land, and own it outright. So they weren't looking for a handout. They was gonna say, well, you give us this, give us enough time, protect us from the nasty Ku Klux Klan and all the other folks who had compiled to pretty much take the land from, because these free black slaves had no army, and they, the South had army, they was Confederate soldiers, even though they had lost in the big war, had every intentions of not losing the little war. So they could take these different estates, one by one, and next thing you know, black folks would have been back where they were originally started. So the whole concept now, when people are talking about reparations, and I know it's a whole bunch of black folks, 36 plus million black folks in the country now. If you're going to give each one of them 40 acres, because that's what the deal was. The deal was 40 acres. The mule came along later. Pretty much they discovered that if I got 40 acres of land, I'm going to need some kind of way to till. If I'm going to till the soil, I'm going to need some kind of way to till the soil. And they didn't have tractors, back then.
Yeah.
The few people who owned tractors wasn't numerous. Mm-hmm. Them big plantation owners may have had a tractor, but most of their workforce was slave labor. So you may have had a mule out there in the field and had a couple of black folks, and they worked all the fields. Mm-hmm. So that was the deal. So anyway, people, it wasn't a handout back then. Mm-hmm. The intention was to get enough so that not only you, your family, and your immediate people who was already close to you while you were in slavery. So your nuclear family, your wife, your kids, your grandparents, couple of cousins,
Mm-hmm.
So all of y'all lived on that 40-acre plot. And then the next 40-acre plot had a whole nother nuclear family, had a whole nother nuclear family. So pretty much, these were family homesteads. And you didn't have to go pay somebody. It was enough for you guys in your homestead to work this land, produce money, and, at some point in time, purchase the land from the government so that they could pay the original owners of the property, and now you got property, you're producing, and the government is happy, you happy, everybody happy. Well, that didn't happen that way. So what folks are looking for today in the form of reparations is how do they get paid for free labor that went on over 100 years ago. Because I know white folks say, well, I didn't enslave nobody. Nobody in my family enslaved anybody. I am not reaping any benefits from slavery. That's a lie. That's as big a lie as ever been told in this country. Because this country went from being also ran backwoods, back hill, hillbilly, cousin screwing animals and stuff. Half the people, hillbilly, kind of mentality to the biggest military, the most powerful nation status in less than 100 years because of the industrial wealth and how quickly it accumulated and was being used around the world. All right, we got a caller. So caller, welcome to Porch Talk Radio on this Saturday afternoon. Who are you? Where you calling from? And what say you? Hello?
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
Jarvis. I'm calling out here. Oh, good. I'm calling out here in Western Chapel.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to ask you guys a question. You've heard of the 1% of blood drop, the 1% or 2% of drop of blood if you're considered black or not. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
the 1%er or the 2%er or something like that.
Right.
Well, do you know why that came about? Do you actually know? Do you actually know the reason why that is?
Go ahead and tell us your version of it.
Well, my version, from what I understand, is that when a white man who was a plantation owner died, and he had offspring, but if the offspring had any portion of black blood, which 1% or 2%, then that person who was considered black could not own the property when the father died. So it was left up to of course, the wife was there, but the property would go on to the son who was pure, who actually came from maybe the wife, the plantation owner's wife. So when you say 1% or 2%, and as I was growing up, I'm 61. I used to just hear it as being, identified as being, that person is a black person, but I didn't know the reason why that came about, the 1% or the 2%, whatever you want to call it. And that was the main reason why, because when, of course, the raping and all that was going on, and of course the plantation owner had, offspring or kids by the out back there by the slaves, but when he died, none of those slaves could come up and step up and say that was my father, because they got that 2% in them. So that's my understanding. And I also wanted to say this before I left. Man, I love you guys' show, but I wanted to say this about the paddling in schools. It's so ironic, and it seems so cruel that they took that once we were admitted to the schools, and I don't know if that happened to an all-black school, the paddlings, and I've never heard of that in all-black schools, but I was integrated school. I'm 61 in the 60s up north, and I should say up north too, outside in Pennsylvania. But I just never heard of that, and I'm not never heard of it, but I just thought that it was so ironic that they just kept beating black kids, because I was subject to the paddlings too in the early 60s, and I believe it might have stopped in the early 70s, like 71, 72. I can't remember being paddled after maybe like 6th grade or something, but I don't recall the white kids coming out of the closets or the principal's office. I think they were taking it to the office around my time of getting paddling. And you're right with the holes in the board, and it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny as you're older now, and you might look back on it and laugh. But if you think about the implications, and they had some black people and some black women, I would imagine that was beating us harder.
Yep.
Or just.
Miss Gussie Young, 80 years old.
They'll teach them a lesson, or get them in line or whatever, and you might get something harder from a black person than you would ever imagine from a white person.
Oh yeah.
But the beatings just continue, and even today, it almost is symbolic. And I'm segueing over. Even today, they're not taking kids in the rooms. The black kids, they're just expelling them, and they're the pipeline to the juvenile system.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's just weird how it just continues to attack and attack and attack. But anyway, I just wanted to say that, man. And
Thank you.
thanks for giving me my time, and I got that out of my system now.
Appreciate
I feel a little bit better now.
Appreciate
There you
it.
go,
Thank
God
you.
bless
Thank
you.
you.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Eddie, that's quite a lot this guy had to say.
Yeah.
It was right on.
Well, the thing about it is, it all took a shape and a form, which now, if you think about it, at first it was like maybe, 6th grades, and then 7th grades, and then, then at some point in time, it molded until you was integrated from 1st grade to 12th grade. Because when we first integrated here in Florida in 1968, in 69, I went to white school. So I went to a black school, Roosevelt High School. It went from 1st grade to 12th grade.
Wow.
All black.
Back in the day.
All black in the
One
day.
building.
We had more than one building.
Okay, I'm just checking. Small
we,
town.
We had a whole campus, but we went from 1st grade to 12th grade. All the teachers were black. All the students were black. Now, when we integrated in 1968, then we had a couple of white teachers showed up. No white students. And then in 69, when it became mandatory, what they did was they shut down Roosevelt.
Oh.
They closed it down. So you ain't had no choice. You either went to the white school, Lake West High, or you didn't go to high school. So that kind of made it, you know, either crap or get off the pot.
Mm-hmm.
So they got rid of all the choices already. You know, everything that you had been used to was now gone.
Wow.
Officially. So for the first year of full integration, that's when we had the racial fights. That's when you had, you know, the gang of white folks and the gang of black folks, and you would have a melee in the cafeteria, a melee in the gym, a melee, you know, wherever you had.
Melee meaning fight out.
Yeah, mean like, you know, like bad. Like Michael Jackson bad. Yeah, you had a bunch of folks over here and a bunch of folks over there, and then the two people who started to fight, next thing you know, it was 100 people fighting. You know, and I'm gonna tell you something else that's really funny. We had big fast fights like that, but we never had police show up. Never did the police come to a school fight that was happening back in the day. I'm just saying.
Maybe the principals had more authority back then.
I don't know what it was, but the police never showed up on campus. So, thank you for the call. Thank you guys, you know, for listening. And I got a text. We got a caller, but let me get this. I got a text from a friend of mine who I've been knowing ever since back in the college days, and she heard the 40 Acres and a Mule show, and she said it was great. She liked it. So again, we do serve a purpose here. It's not the same. It's not the same conversation every week, but it's stuff that fills in the gap. Because you get all the other stuff, you know, doing all the other shows, and what we do is different from that. We don't bring you that kind of stuff. We bring you more of the big picture stuff that you can look at, and if you take it in and organize it and put it where it's supposed to be. We ain't trying to be political all the time. We're just trying to make you make sense of what's happening. And if it makes sense to you, then we've done what we're supposed to be doing.
And if it sticks in your craw for a week or two later, then maybe there's still something there we brought to your table we didn't have before.
All right, caller, welcome to Porch Talk Radio on this fine Saturday afternoon. Who are you? Where are you calling from? And what say you? Hello?
Eddie, Charles Coffey again. I get what you were saying. I was asking, my question was integration necessary? But you answered that. You answered that pretty good. But when you talk about reparations, America couldn't start back really paying us, and I think white America knows that. Our government knows that. They would have to start at $100 trillion if talking about reparations, if they even started. Because listen here, going to Africa, bringing us back over here was trauma. That was PSTV, whatever they called it in the military. That was bad enough. So they couldn't even start back to paying us. But President Obama could have said something about it, which he didn't. And I really always wanted to talk to him about that. But no other president is really going to bring that up. Black America has to take this government to court. May not happen, but civil war, I don't know. But it is time to start talking about it because others got reparations.
Yes.
I know that. You know that. It's
right.
time to talk about it. Talk to me about it. Tell me what you think.
Okay. And I intentionally didn't make a statement for or against reparation because at this point in the process, it's over 36 million black folks.
Eddie, there's no way the white liberal Democrats are controlling our government are going to want to pay out money towards black people when they got all these Hispanics coming in over the border by the hundreds of thousands, the millions, Eddie. They're much cheaper just giving them free benefits than having to deal with reparations. Period.
The issue becomes, as I went back to saying, it was never about the 40 acres and the mule.
Mm-hmm.
Because the proposal was not to give them 40 acres and a mule. The 40 acres and a mule was an opportunity for them to stand up on their own feet, pay the government off for the land, and have somewhere that was theirs.
But it's a perception issue, Eddie.
It is, and the perception was wrong. The concept.
Here's a handout. See what you can do with it.
The concept folks want now is give us 40 acres, give us 20 acres, give us 10, give us whatever. See, the original concept idea was give us an opportunity. And
Okay, that's different.
We will make a monumental move forward, being that we've been in slavery since 1600 and whatever, up until now. And if you give us the opportunity, we will make sure that good things come of this.
See, Eddie, you're adding too much to the conversation because that's not what's being preached everywhere right now. We're going to give you some money. We're going to give you a monthly check. We're going to give you benefits, and you can just enjoy and just get fat and happy.
That's what they're asking for. That's why.
As opposed to give me an opportunity to make something of myself, my family. Let me bust out of this situation I'm in now, as opposed to just give me free stuff.
Well, again, that's why I am clarifying. The concept has been greedy. You know, everybody has figured out that if you're going to give us some, look at what's happening with the stimulus checks. Everybody wants a stimulus check. The folks who are working, who have not missed a paycheck since the COVID started. Mm-hmm. Those people get $1,400. People who haven't worked since COVID started
a year ago
get $1,400. Everybody will take it. Nobody's saying, "Well, I don't need the money. I don't need the money because I haven't missed. I work in the hospital. I haven't missed a day. I'm a fireman. I haven't missed a day. I'm a police.
Or I'm a teacher.
I haven't missed a day. I'm a teacher. Haven't missed a check. Haven't missed anything." The nature is that folks get those checks as some kind of payment, but no one is saying, "Well, I didn't earn that. I shouldn't get that." Everybody thinks they should get it. Same thing with the reparation.
Eddie, $1,400. I'd gladly go buy a camel for that.
Everybody
make use of that.
Everybody wants the money. Everybody wants the money. So nobody's saying, "Well, if you're gonna give reparation, I don't want the money. I didn't earn the money." Okay. And that's why a lot of white folks are upset.
But does Oprah Winfrey get it too? Does she get 40 acres?
A lot of white folks are saying, I don't have any slave blood in my family. I haven't ever owned slaves. Nobody in my family ever owned slaves. But see, those people don't realize it's a collective that's paying for it. And the United States of America has done a whole bunch of its people wrong. That's a fact.
Oh, Eddie, there's a lot of different. The Asians were thrown into camps back in the 50s here in America. Yeah, you're right. A lot of different groups have been affected. And the question is, okay, we're going to give them money. Okay, what committee decides who gets money? What committee is going to, what's the guidelines they're going to use, Eddie? We'll be here till next century.
No, we won't, because no one in this country has went through what black folks went through.
But there's nobody here to fix it.
It can't be fixed. That's what I'm saying. The whole thing of the Atlantic trade route process, the passage, it's an awful lot of black folks who died on the way over here. Mm-hmm. Millions of black folks either jumped ship or got thrown overboard from wherever in Africa, they was coming to this side of the world. A lot of them never was coming to the United States. Some of them was going to South America. Some of them was going to the Caribbean. So all of them, that was coming this way, so a lot of folks didn't make it. And then once they got here, you're talking about 200 or 300 years of producing trillions of dollars in profits, because the labor's free. Mm-hmm. The whole reason we was able to become number one in the world is because our base for the economy was free labor. And then they've always looked and searched for cheap labor. That's why they spend so much time in Mexico and
China
and South America and other places where the labor is cheap. That's why a lot of the big companies move their manufacturing there because they can get, labor at $1 an hour.
Ford just moved one of their plants, Eddie, down to New Mexico, down to Mexico, and there's a $900 million plant they're shutting down here to go to Mexico. Thanks, Joe.
Well, again, the issue becomes not how do you pay for it, but you can't make up. And I say this all the time. We are standing on the shoulders of giants, and those giants are standing on the shoulders of other giants. So you got to go back 5 or 6 generations, and the money that was made 5 or 6 generations ago by the plantation owners and the elected officials and all the people that was involved in that process, who profiteered, and when they died, they left it to their kids, and when they died, those folks left it to their kids. And if you run into people like J.P. Morgan, you run into people like the Rockefellers, and you run into, these famous families. Well, these famous families got rich 200 years ago, 100 years ago. And they had so much money in the family that the money has stayed there. Now, every white American may not have profited from them, but enough of them did to where, if you're running a race, and the race is 200 yards. At the point in which the race starts, you're already 100 yards ahead of me. Which means I gotta be super, super fast to catch you before you get to 200 yards, and I'm running 200 yards and you're running 100 yards. I mean, that's the kind of race we're in. And economics is a system in which, unless you just make some pretty bad decisions, my wealth is never going to catch yours. That's why we got the 1% and the 99%, and we got all this stuff. That's why it's 10% of the money lies in the hands of 90% of the people.
But Eddie, the only reason we're having this conversation right now, and it's across the media channels right now, is because the liberal Democrats need to stir something up to get the black people out to vote. They did. They're done, Eddie. There's no more reparations going on. They're done with that talk. They got the power. They don't need the black people. They're bringing in millions of Hispanics down from South, and they're not going to need the blacks at all after a while, Eddie. They're retraining a new group of troops that'll gladly accept the checks, sit around and do nothing, and the liberal Democrats are going to go, why do we need to worry about reparations now? We already got power. That's it, Eddie. Every 4 years this happens, Eddie.
Yeah.
Then it gets quiet.
All right, we got a caller. Caller, welcome to Porch Talk Radio. Who are you? Where you calling from? And what say you? Hello.
Yeah, Charles Coffey. Hate to bother you. Look here. Your co-partner that's spitting him out there. No. This ain't about no Democrats here now. This about black people fighting for a right of reparation for slavery. This ain't about Spanish people now. I'm separating this thing today. No, he got this thing wrong. Tell him to go and read Dr. Claude Anderson's book and get it right. It is nothing personal. I'm not taking it personal. He got this wrong. This ain't about no liberal. This ain't about no Republican. This ain't about no Green Party. This ain't about none of that. Independent. This ain't about none of that. Get it right now. Get it right. And I know Eddie, he ain't gonna listen to nobody but you. He ain't gonna listen to no black folks. And I'm not calling him racist. Sometimes he act like it, but you know something. This ain't about no Democratic Party or Republican Party. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So Eddie, just to clarify Mr. Jarvis's point, this is a political issue. I understand there's a group of people that have been affected wrongly. I got that. It's happened to many different groups. For us to say, well, this group's more badder than the other, what was done to them, I could go with that. Yeah, that's fine. But it's only stirred up every 4 years election time, Eddie. Then the next 3 years is quiet.
Well, let me.
And that's the pawns, Eddie. That's a shame of it all.
But let me correct you, Gabriel. It's only an issue with white folks. It is always an issue, and it has always been an issue with black folks. You see what I'm saying? White folks may bring it up every 4 years and may use it, in their political strategy.
But black people haven't lived through it.
But in the black neighborhoods, in the black community, it's always been part of the conversation, and it has been part of the conversation all over America. It don't get national attention,
Yeah, that's true.
but it's always
You're right.
it's always in the small print in the small communities. Okay, so let me go ahead and do the on this day and get this part of it out of the way. On this day,
Let's go.
on March the 20th, 1816, the U.S. Supreme Court confirmed, Supreme Court affirmed its right to review state court decisions. That's when the Supreme Court said that we can pretty much overturn any state in the unions that's made a decision about anything. That was in 1816.
Okay.
On this date, March 20th, 1854, the Republican Party was organized in Ripon, Wisconsin. About 50 slavery opponents began the new political group.
That gets lost nowadays.
That means, folks, the Republican Party was started by abolitionists, folks who were against slavery. On this day, March 20th, 1897, the first intercollegiate basketball game that used 5 players per team was held. The contest was Yale versus Pennsylvania. Yale won by a score of 32-10. And last but not least, on this day, March 20th, 1952, the U.S. Senate ratified a peace treaty with Japan.
That was a while back.
Yes, it was. You got it, sir.
All right, guys. Let's go ahead and lighten the load up a little bit here. Humor. This is funny, I think. Chelsea Clinton said that it was a shame her grandmother didn't have Planned Parenthood around. Now that's rather stupid in itself, but so folks, you can't make this stuff up. Meanwhile, the other day my wife was saying something, I don't listen to her. I don't know. She said some kind of stuff too, I think. I don't know, whatever. You just kind of roll on with it. Let's see here. We can have gatherings of up to 5 people without issues. Wait a minute. I don't even know 5 people without issues. Going back to the politics, House Democrats voted against requiring COVID tests for illegal immigrants crossing the southern border. But they still want your business shut down, locked down, and your schools closed. And they want you wearing masks. Dr. Fauci was called out this week on doing the double mask thing. He was told by another politician, this is theater, this is fake, this is a game. You have no virus. You don't even have testing that shows that the vaccines work. And yet now you're going to 3 feet instead of 6 feet because COVID has gotten smarter. COVID used to know what 6 feet is, but COVID's gotten smarter and now it knows 3 feet. And now, but the British said that COVID actually knows 3 feet and 3 inches. So that debate will go on, and if you believe any of that, then you're the issue. Let's see, what's your favorite part of the COVID vaccine? What is your favorite part of the new COVID vaccine? You can still spread the virus after you get the shot. 2-month immunity. Let's see, 15% reaction rate. Increased HIV risk. Bell's palsy, that doesn't sound good. No manufacturer's liability. If you get injured because of it or a limb drops off after you got the vaccine, that's too bad. Still have to wear a mask or all the above. So folks, if you just think about it for half a second, if there was a contraceptive vaccine, but after taking it, you could still get pregnant and you still had to wear a condom, why would you still take it? I mean, I'm not saying we're stupid, but anyway. New York judge removes a 6-year-old from mother because she didn't wear a mask while dropping the child off at school. Wow. Meanwhile, Pfizer admits the DNA template used does not come directly from an isolated virus from an infected person. That's that COVID thing. You guys heard about that? The DNA template says SARS was generated via a combination of gene synthesis and recombinant DNA technology. Do you know what that means, folks? Eddie probably does. They made it up. So go get that shot. Does it make sense? Anthony Fauci put $500 million tax dollars into that vaccine. He owns half of the patent. He has 5 guys who are working for him who are entitled to collect royalties from that. So you have a corrupt system, and now they've got a vaccine, and it's too big to fail. That's from Mr. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Meanwhile, Don Lemon, everybody loves Don Lemon, says God is a barrier. That keeps us from getting to know each other. This is from the black man with his gay white friend, man, that says all whites are racist. Says basically Christians are the problem. Think about that, buddy. U.S. government plans to use downtown Dallas Convention Center to hold 3,000 immigrant teenagers. That means free medical, free food, free whatever else they need down there, because we don't have a problem at the border at all. Columbia University reintroduces segregation to the New York school, will now separate minorities into 6 different graduations, so racism is alive and well, and people are paying a lot of money to be trained in racism. Pfizer is on the record as saying you need a 3rd shot and annual shots thereafter. Oh, and they're raising the price. Meanwhile, I mentioned this earlier, the United Auto Group has informed workers that Ford plans to move a major project, $900 million, from Ohio to its plant in Mexico. Thanks, Joe. Practice safe social distancing. For those of you who don't understand what that means, it's either 2 Great Danes or 7 Chihuahuas. So if you're kind of confused on that. And of course, we end on this note. Wrinkles mean you laughed. Gray hair means you cared. Scars mean you lived. And a fat butt means you love tacos. Thank you very much. There we go.
Oh, all right. Well, Tampa Bay, thank you for listening to us. Thank
Again.
You. Yes. Thank you for the new listeners, because each week we get some people who haven't heard the show before, and
Thank you all.
I actually got a chance to talk with a Democrat who says he only listens to this show
God bless you, sir.
on WTMP.
Wow.
He,
That's awesome.
I mean, it's not.
That's a smart cookie then.
It's not a knock on the station.
But
He's just saying that, you know, he listens to this show exclusively, and other than this show, he don't listen a lot to WTMP. So,
hey, some of that rap stuff's not too bad.
well, again, I'm just saying what he said. So, so until next week, when we do all this again, I'd like to say, Tampa Bay, thank you. We appreciate you. We
Number 1 radio show again.
We love you, and until the sun shines and
Boy.
and and the hand of God comes down and praises us and pats us on the head and say, job well done. We love you, Tampa Bay. Until next week, same bat time, same bat station. Bye-bye.
We'll be back. God bless America.